trade bug. This is something that's absolutely fucking ridiculous that is happening in every single region in the world right now. So as much as you can, Wolf, why don't you unpack this?
During the swap phase of pick and bans, you are unable to swap. Like, sometimes you'll be able to swap some, and then it like bugs at the last second, or one team will be able to swap, but the other team will not. As far as I can tell, nobody knows yet what is causing this, and it has persisted over 2 patches. After the swap bug occurs, even in a remade lobby, there is an increased chance that your runes will not properly load into the game. So that's why we've even had swap bugs occur, and then we go into the regame, and then like there's a pause, and then we have to go back to the draft again because the runes didn't load. Riot then has to use the footage they've recorded of the players to prove that they in fact did put their runes in. So they have to like slow-mo watch Doran like click all the things like really fast and prove that in fact he did put his runes in correctly.
Oh my god.
And then regame and hope that the runes don't bug again. Like, why can't they just make a lobby and pick the champions they had? Is because the way that the API, that all of the stuff that we use, the dragon counter, the gold counter at the top, the panels that come down, like the AR panels that come down, where we have the dun, 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 and we're like, let's talk about these comps. It's all connected to that tournament client draft.
Come on, man. How many years has the game League of Legends been out now? We were doing a watch party. Some of these fucking pauses and breaks are just
we're
unreal.
Oh, no, we're right now.
There's a problem. That whole thing of like, watch out, Chrono break. It's like, motherfucker, I need Chrono trigger. I want to go back in time. This is all a mistake. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing with this game?
I was immensely Chrono triggered by that whole situation.
Because it's the thing. As mad as it sounds, what made me ultra, like the thing that was the straw that broke the camel's back was when they came back for those like 3 seconds and you were like, oh, the game's started. Oh no, it's stopping again. Like, no,
it was just like a flash.
I know exactly, because for like 2 seconds they were playing. You could even see on the players' face. I'm not joking, on the player cams, like they got like it's like the spark of like vital life force came again. Like, oh, I'm back, and then they're like, ah, it's like exactly.
But when a team has Dragon Soul, it is absolutely absurd what you can do in terms of bounty comebacks if the other team has it, because you could be even in gold, and if the other team has Dragon Soul, all of a sudden you have objective bounties, because the weight, the more I see, because we don't know exactly what triggers objective bounties, but almost every time that there's a Dragon Soul on the map, it allows the team that is technically behind to be ahead in gold. Right?
I just hate League of Legends. Because what I hate is like every iteration of the game is some form of blue shell. Why always a blue shell? All I'm trying to think of that. Listen, I know this is an abstract point, guys, but just think for a second. There are no blue shells in sports. There's no like, look, in the Super Bowl. Like, remember that Super Bowl where Peyton Manning got absolutely dicked by the Seahawks, right? It's not like at the end they go, and here's the bonus last minute, though. If he gets a fucking 80-yard Hail Mary, he'll win the game. Like, what would the point of that be? It will totally undo everything brilliant about the sport. But League is just rammed with these fucking comeback mechanics.
I don't think it's good for the game if we can play perfect for, let's say, like 30 minutes, and then just one mistake and we lose the game.
But this was the big test for Damwon. Damwon Kia this week with Nuguri. Were they going to do well? Were they going to beat Gen.G? Were they going to beat T1? The answer was no, but they should have probably won both of those series. So really Damwon's own mistakes, and that they were relatively fixable mistakes, I felt like, potentially dealing with gelling with this new team and this new meta. And I think they're going to be extremely strong as the season progresses in spite of these early losses.
Okay, we're still figuring out the top lane, and it felt like with Nuguri, he would just default be pretty good with this roster because he played with most of it before. And it just hasn't been the case so far, and I think Nuguri's still shaking off some of the rust. He's also a player who, generally speaking, was a very aggressive laner, and now is playing a meta where he's like, alright, so I'm on Sejuani again. Cool.
I think if Faker doesn't land the 5-man taunt at the Dragon, like, this game is probably Damwon's to lose again. Like, I think Damwon should have won this game, and it was only a really solid play by Faker that allowed T1 to get back into this.
I think we can actually, for the first time since I started casting LCK, say Chovy is by far the best mid laner right now. Like, by far. I don't think anyone is coming close to him right now in the LCK. I legitimately believe he has leveled up his decision making.
Yes.
Without sacrificing he has extreme lane prowess in CS gathering.
You are going to be highly disappointed. So here's my informed theory. Let's put it that way. You guys can read into that euphemism. I think Riot is going to open up all minor regions at the end of this year to become residents of any major region. The Australian players can come over and play. I think they will open it up to the Brazilians, the Turkish league, the Japanese league, Taiwan probably as well. It will be obvious that this doesn't benefit anybody who isn't LCS because no other team, except for the Chinese teams who are only going to import Koreans, they're not going to import a Turkish guy, right? So it only really benefits LCS, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me if Immortals dumps their roster after this year, gets an entirely Brazilian roster, rebrands to MIBR, which they already own, and then brings a big influx of Brazilian fans. So what's going to happen is LCS is going to be mad propped up by a change to the rules that will allow minor regions to play for them.
Now everyone's going to finally understand why on these shows, like they always think, why are you so skeptical? Why don't you just give people a chance? Because they're all full of shit. What part haven't you, my whole career has been exposing that they're all full of shit. So here's chapter 1 million of why everyone in the LCS is full of shit. Because they've just spent years. It's the whole impetus behind why the CG team exists, gaslighting you that their ultimate goal is to bring NA talent forwards. Right? You are aware, by definition, this is the best move you could do to deny NA talent spots ever again in LCS. Just say, all the rest of the world, everyone else that actually in theory could want to play in LCS, yeah, just count them as NA players. If you think it was hard already for someone like fucking Golden Glue to compete against NA people to get into LCS, imagine being Golden Glue and you're literally competing against Maple and some fucking sick Turkish mid laner and some fucking sick Brazilian top. Like, you're never going to get in the LCS again. By the way, if ever you wanted proof that it isn't just self-made fucking everything, this has to be it, mate. Come on. Like, they've took him out of the team. It hasn't changed any of their problems. They've got most of the same issues with the same players, for fuck's sake.
They have the same issues. And then Haru isn't even like this dog jungler who's following around the lanes and making really intelligent plays. He's actually playing so scared. And I don't think that he'll get enough flack for how bad he's playing because it's not obvious. Like, he misses every opportunity on the map. He is never in a fucking lane when he actually needs to be in a lane. His like vision control, he is literally just a bot. I know, like, maybe it's a bow waiting room. I don't know if he's even going to get here this
That was what they implied, right? That was the real player they're waiting for, some shit, right?
I mean, look, I could not imagine Bo playing like that. He's too inherently good at the game. Like, either he's gonna fucking run it down or he's gonna just be like smurfing. There's no in between. Like, I cannot see him doing this. This literally just looks like somebody that doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. So
what you're saying, Dom, is you could see Bo fixing Vitality's game.
Yeah, I definitely could see him. I could see him fixing the match for sure.
There you go. Right, what about, dude? I actually genuinely hate calling like this team, they're done, they're split, like it's over already. Because in theory, like, we've only had 2 weeks of play and there's so many things could happen. And obviously the meta can change and the patches can happen, blah, 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 blah. But here's the problem. Like, after watching 2 weeks of Misfits, like, I actually am just ready to call it, mate, which seems mental because they had the MVP of last split, but like, this looks so bad. Like, I genuinely, like, I struggle to find any sort of bright spot for the team. Like, everything will just look shit. XL is actually really legit, mate. This team's actually really good. Yeah, like, good. I have to say, they genuinely have some of the most, like, aesthetically pleasing league to watch, like, as a team unit, though. Like, mate, their macro's good. Like, this team actually looks really legit. Like, I'm sort of I don't know if this is like a fucking rogue razor cake I'm about to eat, but the more I watch them, the more legit they really do look as a squad. But obviously the question then was a different type of playoff, like, query we had, like, could they hold up under pressure? Would they play the big game? Right? That's the problem I have with XL. I sort of agree with you.
The questions that they need to answer are things that you can't know right now, which is how deep are their champion pools really? Like, when teams actually have to prep for XL and they start thinking about XL differently instead of being like, oh, we should probably beat XL if we're good. Instead of using this as a benchmark of, are we actually a top team right now? Or like, what is our form? When teams start prepping, like, okay, what does XL do the best? How are we going to like hamper Nuke Duck to make sure that we actually have an advantage in our Caps versus Nuke Duck matchup, in our Humanoid versus Nuke Duck matchup? And they start actually attacking, his champion pool, or they attack Finn's champion pool, and, like, GP isn't available, and like they make it unideal situations for the other picks he plays, like Orin or whatever. How are they going to respond to those moments? And are they going to have deep enough champion pools to do it? And what is the meta going to look like?
What do you think of the way the split's going so far? Is this the expectation you had?
I mean, I don't think it was the expectation I had. I mean, the split is going well for sure. I just like firstly, I didn't think the teams were so bad. I think we scrimmed so many games against T1, maybe 20 games or more. They showed us how to destroy bad teams in like less than 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure there are 3-4 games where they just beat us with second Haru.
And you have access to this dark technology?
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
I watched the Mad Lions game, so yeah, I can confirm that they do.
And of course, then we just learned how they snowballed the game, and basically we used it against the bad teams, and it works against every bad team so far.
You have all of the deep connections to a lot of the LPL teams in order to get some of these boot camps.
Like most of the contacts, you either have to be able. You first you need the WeChat account there, which is not possible to create one for the past few years, and you need to be able to speak Chinese most of the time to contact the coaches there. Like many of the staff, either the head coach or the person arranging scrims, I have like a personal relationship with them, so they're always willing to give us a scrim to like test the team out, to test us out.
I heard that there were actually orgs that did go for those boot camps, and they were there. And even though they've sort of tried to infer, like maybe they would get these games, I've heard some of them got absolutely punked and just got nothing. Basically, they just took a trip basically and played solo queue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we're the only one who had good scrims because
I love it. What a waste!
And I know most teams they couldn't find scrims because even BDS and G2 they were asking me to hook them up.
G2, the team that was at MSI, was asking you to.
Do you at least like fucking draw it out? Like, oh, you must be pretty desperate to come to me for this. Like, do you at least do some of that? Don't do it all day long. We have to say that, so don't worry.
For sure, it was just quite funny because I think it was the day before their semifinals, I think. And then I know that RNG was scrimming against EDG, and T1 was scrimming us. So actually, there was no team left.
It is next level though. Like G2's like, but wait, we're in the semis of MSI though. We need to actually try and win. You're like, listen, excuse me, I'm gonna actually scrim T1 now. If I have some time later, maybe I'll let you scrim. Like, you've owned them, mate. You've actually fucking cocked these guys. You literally cocked G2. Well done. Well done. I mean, some would say you did that whole year where you pretended you were going to be a sick coach and bring all the LPL picks and they had Reckless and they were going to win and go to Worlds and everything. You sort of cocked up that year too, but you got them 2 years in a row now. That's two. That's two. That counts. That's two. A nice one. Different from inside the org and outside. I like it. Well done. What would the difference be, do you think, if I could see what a session's like in LPL in comparison?
I would say like most of the concepts are already learned or have been tried before and they tested and they know it works. It's just that the things that the top LPL teams are pushing for is the reaction time, like how fast you can identify a certain scenario or a certain map state, and you need to know what you can do. And I think this is something EU is also like far behind. Teams take too long to notice what the enemy team is doing, and they take too long to make the correct play. Like maybe I need like 4 or 5 seconds to see that the enemy is inting, and sometimes the window is gone. But the Chinese teams, they just pull the trigger instantly.
Basically, Monty, the analogy is in the West, where the coaching sessions like, yay, the cylinder does go through the circle, yay, everyone. in LPL, it's like fucking when they play Tetris, when those like high speed players like at the end they're like, you're 1 second off, like, oh, I'm so sorry, coach, I will play 3 times more today. Good.
I mean, it's even worse than that. In some of these like LCS games that I watch, they've got like the cylinder, and then they're like the square hole, and they're just like hammering at it for a while for like 15 minutes. They're like the star-shaped hole. They're just like hammering away at that, and then they like accidentally knock it into the circle-shaped hole at the end. Like that's how a lot of these games feel.
The joke would be that in LCS, every single block, none of them are cylinder shaped, but they just smash all the edges off until it eventually fits in the cylinder hole. And whoever gets it in at the end, they win the game. That's the LCS for you. There you go.